What's going on, y'all? This is Jermaine Johnson of the Jermaine Johnson Show. We are going ahead and having our side segment interviews today. Where we're going to be talking to one of the specific candidates in an upcoming election here for the State House. And this is Mr. Hamilton Grant. And we want to go ahead and get a little bit of background information on Mr. Hamilton Grant here, who is, and I'm going to go ahead and not be as professional with him because this is my buddy right here. This is my guy. We were having some chit chat before we even got on here, man, and we're talking about he know me very, very well, and I know him very well. So we want to go ahead and kick this thing off with Mr. Hamilton Grant. I appreciate you, brother, for hopping on here with us today. I'm gonna ask you some questions about some things, man, and we'll see how you can educate us, educate the people, and let us know some things, man. So first off, welcome and tell us who you are, man.
Man, no, thank you. Before I do that, let me say how much of an honor it is to be on with my brother and my friend, and congratulations on all your success and all your endeavors. Look, 4 years ago, who would have thought you had your own show? We
Yeah.
went from we went from doing Zooms on who we like as better comedians to now you have your own show. You have arrived, my friend, and so I aspire to be like you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hamilton Grant, and when I'm not working, I drive Jermaine Johnson around. But no, seriously, listen. I'm a husband, a father, and a business owner. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, uh, raised and educated here. Graduate of Richard Northeast High School. Have my undergraduate degree from South Carolina State University, and my master's of business administration from Alabama A&M University. Currently, I work in a small business, black-owned firm owned by my father, who started it, where we work with small businesses, commercial clients, and churches. We're helping them achieve their goal and access to capital. And so, since the inception of our company, we've successfully arranged over $1 billion in financing, Jermaine, for a lot of clients that look like you and I across this country. And so, it is with that level of ingenuity and passion in which I seek from a professional standpoint to use that same acumen in the political arena. Because we understand that, decision making powers for people that look like you and I, and for people who represent us across this state, don't necessarily come from young black men. And so
Mhm.
being able to run for office and being able to go through the first hurdle of winning a primary is something that I don't take for granted, because I've been on the other side of that and losing a primary. And so there are many reasons in why I ran for office, particularly being from here and seeing so many of my peers leave South Carolina and never come back. They come back for family reunions, they come back for funerals, they come back for weddings. But in terms of dropping their anchors and establishing their roots, South Carolina is not even on the table, and they spent most of their lives here. And so I want to run and be a part of that process to make sure that we kind of change what those statistics look like, making sure that when our children grow up and graduate from high school, that South Carolina is a
Mhm.
place that they can be proud of and to call home. And so that's why I ran. That's why I'm running. That's why I'm passionate about the work that I do. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be on with you.
Oh man, listen, brother, you answered so many of my questions just in your opening there, man. So I'm going to throw this hardball one at you. You know, like I said, we were talking a little bit before we even hopped on here, and the question I have right now, and I know I experienced this also. I was when I first decided to run, it was some years ago, and I was considered young and green, and not ready, and this type of stuff. Running against the people, so. I didn't have a lot of support jumping out there as a young person, especially taking on a 22-year incumbent. So it was frowned upon. That's something that I had did, and this is a whole national thing right now, right? So you hear people who say, you kind of need to wait your turn, or you need to wait your time, or that type of stuff, and they kind of discourage young people from jumping out there and running for office. And then you want to throw in there also that you're a young African American male, right? So tell me right now, it's really not sexy to be a young African male Democrat right now, like or to be a Democrat in general, right? It's not sexy. Tell me what can we do to bring more people like you and I into the fold to get us to be involved with the civic process and that type of stuff.
Well, so many things, Rep. Johnson, I think we have to do, but the first thing is we've got to stop saying we want young leadership, and then when young leadership appears, we don't like how it's packaged.
Man.
The stereotypical politician of what we know as the older, established women and men who wear the St. John suits and the three-piece custom
Mhm.
suits with the clean face and the clean cut. I mean, those are yesteryear. We've got elected officials now who like to grow their hair out, who have dreads, who
Yep.
have beards, who have arms and bodies full of tattoos, who may wear hats backwards and gold chains. I mean, this is not your stereotypical thing. And so, because it's not packaged a certain way that conservative Democrats or really conservative voters in the South, because I grew conservative voters just in the South as a whole class by itself. There's a very thin
Hmm.
line between Southern Democrats and Southern Republicans, and that line is racism and oppression. That's the hard stop.
Hmm.
But there are a
Yep.
lot of shared
Yep.
values there. But I think if we can get past appearance and really get down to substance, I think we can get somewhere. Understanding that my experience may not be your experience, but it is experience.
Yep.
One of the things that I learned while being on the board of trustees at South Carolina State University, I was the youngest one to serve in our school in my alma mater's history, as well as probably the youngest one on the board at the time. And a lot of what I was saying was being dismissed because of my youth and because of my age.
Yep.
But now, if you look at what has happened along the years, and I've been on record by voicing my concerns, they are still concerns that they are being worked through at this time. And so that tells me that, it wasn't what I said, it was who said it. And
Yep.
I think we've got to do a much, much better job at not dismissing people because of we don't think they're smart enough, we don't think they're credentialed enough, they didn't come from the right family, their last name is unknown, they're not from here, they didn't go to this university, they didn't come out of that church. We've got to get beyond that and look at ideas and get to critical thinking because I promise you, once you really diversify our party and not from a black white standpoint, but let's look at from an age standpoint as well. Then you get somewhere. I think the Bible talks about the old men will dream dreams and have visions, and the young men will carry them out. And so, if we're not fulfilling that part of it, then I mean we're doomed from the start.
Bro, you said a word right there, man. You absolutely said a word on that one, man. And I don't know if I even ever told you this, but you seen my logos, right? My
Yeah,
logos and all my logos they say Dr. Jermaine Johnson on there.
yeah.
Like the only reason I had to put doctor on my campaign signs was because the people said I was too young. They all said I
Listen,
was too young. They said I was too inexperienced. They said I should drop out. I was disrespectful, that I didn't have it. So I had to put doctor on my campaign sign so that I could appear older, just so that they knew that I had more experience. Now, I've
listen.
got my doctorate, but I didn't want to put that on there to say, I'm just Dr. Jermaine Johnson. But it's the simple fact that I felt I had to feel compelled to do so because of all the negative energy that I was receiving from people, and including people out of my own church. When you have people who say, we need young people to step up. We need young people to get out here and be a leader. We need young people to take this thing on and do what they have to do. And then when you do it, and then they kind of turn their back on you, and you're like, man, like you the one who
Y'all
encouraged me to
encouraged
do
it.
this. You encoured me to do this,
Let me
and then
tell
you
you
turned your
something.
back on me, man.
Working with my father has taught me this well before I ran. And I can remember times where we would go to churches or conferences and give presentations. And he was always big, Hamilton, you need to say something. You need to speak. You need to go first. Cool. I would go first. I would lay it out. And then he would come back behind me and say the exact same thing, just a different way. And we'd be
Hmm.
sitting in the car and I'd be fuming, like, why did you come behind me and literally say the same thing that I just said? He said, Hamilton, you got to understand, for the room we were just in, you don't have enough gray to be listened, to be heard. So
Hmm.
people equate gray hair to experience. And
Yeah.
so one of the things that running for office has taught me, particularly being young, is if you don't have a group of people that can walk in rooms that you're not respected or welcomed in yet, that can speak on your behalf, then that is another barrier to entry to making sure that you're taken seriously. Thank God I have mentors that have spoken well of me in rooms that I can't walk in yet, but I'm able to walk in those rooms now because of the vouch of what somebody else said that is credible and respected. Jermaine, there's a quote that I use often and that is profound that ashamedly a lot of people younger than us wouldn't even get. And the quote is, young leaders are like film, they just need a little bit of exposure. And the
Mm,
people behind us wouldn't get it because they came up in a generation of digital camera and having cameras
hmm.
on their phones. But you and I grew up to where we would have to go to Walgreens and buy the
Wind that
disposable
sucker up.
camera, wind
Yeah.
it, and the camera and the way the film would be developed is it was exposed in the dark by a little
Yeah.
bit of light. And I think where our generation has gotten it twisted, we're so attracted to the light, and too much light too soon will
Yeah.
tarnish and destroy the picture. And we've got to get back to making sure the picture's holistic.
That's right, man. That's right. I think we've got to do more of that. And I don't. I've been trying to figure out how to marry the old people with the young people because I feel like a lot of our older generation they feel threatened, like their power is coming to an end, or and they're just trying to cling on to, or and trying to hold on for dear life. And then we've got a lot of young, ambitious, young people who are like, man, listen, I'm trying to get in there, I'm trying to get in there, I'm trying to get in there, trying to get a seat at the table, and it's creating this ridiculous war that we really don't need,
It's a clogged
I'm
up
trying to figure out how to bring it
pipeline.
together.
It's a clogged up pipeline. But Jermaine, you got to look at it like this. That problem is nothing new, right? And so people's identity, particularly our people of color, our identity in
Hmm.
the older generation is tied to titles because you and I are
Hmm.
blessed to where we can serve on boards of institutions that are not predominantly black. Our parents and grandparents could not do that. So being a trustee at your black AME church was huge. Being chair of the Urban League was big. Being on this committee for the NAACP was huge. And so if you take that same model and you use your leadership to where you were accepted, then it's hard to transition that pipeline into leadership because that's all they know. And so if I relinquish this power, what does that say about me? Will people remember me? Will people appreciate me? Will people call me when I need things done? And that's where mentorship really has to be honed in. If you are not training at least three of your replacements at whatever level of leadership that you're in, you are failing the next generation and the generation behind them for the greatness that you set up, and potentially wasting your legacy because if you didn't train somebody to build on it, then what was the point of you being there to begin with?
Mm. So that's one of the things that I also had experienced myself because my predecessor said he did not believe in succession planning, is what he told me. And like the first thing I did when I got in there was create a leadership development fellowship for the young people in my district because I truly believe in succession planning and I truly believe in teaching the next generation that's coming behind me and just I give out so much information. I'm like, man, listen, whatever y'all need, you can come to me and come get this information. But my question is, how in the world do we change it now, or do we just kind of let it just die off and then we start anew with people like me and you, or is there any possibility of changing it now?
I think it's both. I think now, because we have so many leaders transitioning, and I think I've had this conversation with you offline, with the unusual transition of power in Richland County due to transitions, whether that
Hmm.
is passing away, untimely deaths, wanting to do something else, retirement, seeking higher office. There have been a lot of transitions in the last 5 years from political power in Richland County. And I think that we're having way too many transitions for the wealth of knowledge to just be gone to the wayside. And so I think we need to have those conversations with those who want to have those conversations. And I think, again, it starts with us as well. We've got to identify people who are younger than us who can take the reins of things that we did in our 30s and they can do it in their 20s. And so
Hmm.
helping identify young people who would be good for this, understanding that we don't have to do everything. My favorite word right now is no, because no is a complete sentence. And so you can recommend me for something. My answer is going to be, I appreciate it, but I don't have the capacity to do it. But here's my commitment to you because you asked. With your blessing, I will find a capable recommendation that can fulfill the job in somebody that is preferably young, that can have the longevity to be taught, and they'll be loyal because you gave them an opportunity. Because quite frankly, that's all we were looking for coming up. Nobody wanted to take a chance on us like that, but
Yeah.
somebody did. And because they did, look at where we are today.
That's right. Without a Joe Neal taking a chance on me, there is no Jermaine
Listen,
Johnson in politics. You're right.
yeah,
Without a Andrew Yang,
yeah,
putting me on. You're definitely right about that.
yeah.
Somebody did take a chance, and now here we are, man. Doing some of these things, man. I tell you, man. Listen, this is not going to be long enough. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna have you back again on the Jermaine Johnson show. So I'm gonna book you.
Hey, I'm with
I'm
it.
gonna book you again for the podcast, man. We gotta get a full hour in on this one. There's a lot of things that I wanna chop down, man, with you, and I can assure you that you are just the right man that I need to be speaking to get to the bottom of some of these problems. I am looking forward to getting you in the State House this upcoming
Yes.
January, man, and working alongside of me. And getting you to come on this tour with me to come talk to people and get more people like you and I into the fold and that type of stuff. How can people get in contact with you? How can they contribute to your campaign? How can they assist you?
Absolutely, and thank you again for this time of chatting. So, to learn more about me, campaign, volunteering, donating, getting to know me, you can go to our website at grant4sc.com. All my social media is consistent, Grant for SC. That's Facebook, Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter until it decides to be something else. I don't know what this X stuff is, but Twitter and Instagram, all of it is consistent at Grant for SC. And I'm really big on communicating and engaging, not just from a social media standpoint, but from like what you're doing, getting out and talking to folk. When I first ran for office 4 years ago, I could not do that because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so the biggest joy that I've had in this campaign has been getting out amongst the people, meeting with people, knocking on doors, having phone conversations, and really seeing firsthand from an on the ground standpoint of what is important to people, how they want to see South Carolina right now versus 50 years from now, and where do you fall in the middle of all of that. And so it's been a blessing to do that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, brother, I appreciate you being on here. Thank you for coming back. And everybody who's been listening right now, thank you so much for checking us out, the Jermaine Johnson Show, the interview segment of this week. So thank you so much and look forward to y'all tuning in again.